Zach, if you don't mind, if you would shut that door. I'll keep everybody in here this time. Well, we'll start off with the invocation. Mr. Mason, I see you snuck in here. Would you care to do that?
I would love to.
Awesome, thank you.
Let's uncover too. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you as family, as members of this community. Pray for guidance, pray for fellowship, and to pray for your power descending upon us so that we can do what it is you wish us to do. We surrender ourselves to you tonight, to be your people. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move on to unfinished business, there is an item that I left out, not purposely, obviously, but it's it's to the agreement for the summer food program. We will make that under 3B. That'll be all right with you guys. I apologize, I just didn't get it in in time. My bad. Unfinished business, line 2, approve the minutes of the February 23rd regular board meeting. Commissioner Johnson, any errors or omissions?
I have no objections to the minutes.
Commissioner Patterson?
No objection, sir. You're fine.
We'll ask for a vote to approve the minutes from February 23rd meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion. All in favor? Okay, minute approved. Okay. Well, number 3 under new business, we have a variance request for John and Patricia Sundry. The variance request is to build a proposed garage 15 foot from the edge and 24 foot from the center line of Aska Forest Trail and Aska Highlands. It's lot number 7 for reference. Does anybody here oppose that? Anybody here support it? Okay. Commissioner Patterson?
Well, I have some concerns about it. Went out and looked at it and got some opinions as well. It's very close to the embankment and the curvy road. Has concerns about the water issues maybe there. Coming down into the driveway. The driveway is real close to the embankment. Kind of feel like it probably, and I talked to the wife, husband wasn't there, twice today, and then talked to the builder. The builder is not building the garage. The house is already there. But he said if he did it right, it might could work. But again, it's awful close to the edge of that curve and height and everything. So I told her that we would look at maybe tabling it, and since we don't have the builder of the garage, to talk to maybe our building inspector, and see what we could do in that range. What I would think would be the proper steps to take at this time.
Mr. Johnson?
I haven't had a chance to go look at it, so.
Okay. I also went and looked at it and had kind of the same feeling he did. It's like really close to that bank. Matter of fact, you're gonna have to cut some of that bank in order to get it, but it's just it's in a tight spot. I would agree with you, possibly maybe getting Mr. Nicholson up there to take a look at it.
Right.
And talk, have a chance to talk with the builder. And I know there's been some talk maybe of, maybe by the builder, him putting a retaining wall or something to that effect in that
Right.
area as well. So, I would agree that maybe we table it until we can, answer a few more questions.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so, I'll make the motion, we table it until the next meeting, our next regular meeting,
Right.
so.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? All right.
Was there any way they could move ones that offset so much?
It's tight.
But usually, there was probably a variance granted for this, if I'm not mistaken.
There was, in the bank behind it, I wish I brought the phone, I could show you pictures, but there's a bank behind it that is straight off.
Right.
And, there's a lot of unknowns right there, just to be honest with you. Cause there's a water runoff ditch that's there that has rock in there as well.
Right.
So that would tell me that there's maybe some water issues.
Right.
Even though the road is slanted the other way. If you get a chance, go take a look at it. That way you'll. All right, number 4, we have a reappointment of Mr. Nick Wimberly to the Mountain Regional Library. This appointment is a Board of Commissioner appointment and not just a post or a chair. It's just a board appointment is what it is, a total board. So I think Mr. Wimberly has been on the board for quite some time now, and maybe take the time off, a lot of time off, and now he's requested or been nominated to join the board again.
Right, correct.
So, Mr. Johnson, anything on?
I think it's a very good choice to serve on that board. He has for many years, and he's always done a good job with my knowledge, so.
Mr. Patterson?
I concur with Mr. Johnson over there. He got a lot of experience and very level-headed. I think he's an asset to the board.
I'll ask for a motion that we reappoint Mr. Wimberly to the Mountain Regional Library.
I'll make that motion to reappoint Mr. Wimberly to the library board of trustees.
I'll second the motion. All in favor? Line item number 5. Line number 5 is a reappointment of Mrs. Kathy Tickner to the Mountain Regional Library Board. And this is also a Board of Commissioners vote. It's not a post or a chair appointment. It specifies in the that it is a board appointment. So, Commissioner Patrick?
Again, she's very experienced and level-headed. I think she does a good job, and I have no problem with it, no objections.
Commissioner Johnson?
I have no objections, sir.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we reappoint Ms. Tickner to the Mountain Regional Library Board. Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. number 6, Eddie O'Neill, Director of Rec. We have mowing bids and we want to discuss a mower. Eddie, it's good to see you.
Good to be
You know,
here.
you had some health issues. We're glad everything went through.
Yeah, good.
Glad to have you.
Thanks. Just a quick update on rec complex. We've been closing every Wednesday to deep clean and fog the rec center. We have moved that to every first and third Wednesday, so we will do that every other week now, and we'll continue to monitor COVID numbers and increase or decrease that. So what's happening is we don't open up till 3 p.m. on those Wednesdays. So we will now be open except for every first and third Wednesday. We'll shut down the deep clean. So just so you guys are aware of that. We're not totally comfortable just going full bore again.
You
So
said first and third Wednesday?
that's correct. We will close on those Wednesdays until 3 p.m.
I'm sure that's posted somewhere.
It is. It's everywhere on social media, so
Okay.
website.
No rec basketball.
Rec basketball's over. We're proud of rec basketball. We had 8 and under boys, or 8 and under girls, 10 and under girls, 12 and under girls, 10 and under boys won the district championships, and then they all competed in state with 8 and under girls and 10 and under girls bringing home a state championship. So
Fantastic.
That's great.
we're tickled. And
We appreciate those volunteer coaches that
absolutely,
always,
absolutely, and all those
Sacrifice.
referees, yeah.
yeah, the referees,
Yeah, all those guys. But, the mowing bids for the parks are up. It's a 2-year bid. It's come to, we had 2 valid bids, 1 bid, I just kicked it out. They had no proper insurance, so, these are the 2 sealed bids for mowing of the parks.
you want to give it to them over there, they usually open it.
All right. Got your pocket?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Gotta keep them on their toes over there.
That's right.
All right, the bid received from Green's Lawn Service, monthly bid amount is $3,900. Winter restroom cleaning for Horseshoe Bend Park is $400. They have their certificate of liability insurance.
What was that last one?
I said their certificate of liability insurance was included. Horseshoe Bend, the winter cleaning of the restrooms is $400.
400.
This is from Spartan Management. Their monthly bid amount is $3,510. That is for the monthly bid for mowing, weed eating, restroom cleaning for the 3 parks during the mowing season. And then their winter restroom cleaning for Horseshoe Bend Park is $900. They also supplied us with their certificates of insurance.
So the way you would figure that, guys, would be 7 months of mowing
Mhm.
and 5 months of restroom cleaning, and that's probably about wash.
Do you know anything about either one of these two? Do you have
Well,
any
Green's
comments?
Lawn Service done it in the past. They had the low bid before. They did
Green's.
a great job. The Spartan guys out of Hackworth, I think. So
Is Green's local?
they're a county resident. Yeah. And the Spartan guys do a lot of parks and rec stuff, and I think he's located in Hackworth.
It does say that their primary insured location is on Kellogg Creek Road in Akron, Georgia.
That's what I
So, let's see, Greens would be 43, right? Oh, we count both of them together. 3,900 and 400?
You would do 3,900 times 7 and 400 times 5 and total that, and that would be the total yearly fee. And then you would do the same for Spark.
You don't have those figures, do you?
No, it's not. No. But it's gotta be close to the same.
Yeah, I think they would be too.
It'd be less than $300.
You know what the total would be?
It'd be less than 300, Eddie said.
Yeah.
You want to
Right.
use the calculator?
Eddie, how many months is the winter restroom cleaning?
Five.
Your difference is $2,030, I'm sorry, it's $230.
Okay. To which one?
Greens is $230 more.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
So Greens had it last time. Do we remember what we were paying them last time? And if it was a price increase or
It's actually a price decrease.
a decrease? Okay.
Both bids are cheaper than last time, with this bid, yeah.
Mr. Johnson?
I'll be here to break that.
And both of them will be on the same schedule regardless.
Yes. Like I said, Green does a great job too. These other guys are well reputable. I called some reps, they do a good job too. My only concern with those guys would be they're in Hackworth,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. My thoughts are is personally, I'd rather keep it local.
I would agree.
That's my personal opinion. Even though it is $230 more. When we can get them to clean the sidewalk or something for it.
Sounds good.
You can always find the local food.
Yeah.
You can find a local.
That's my 10 cents. So,
Mr. Patrick?
I concur with that judgment, Chairman. They were very loyal and, we need to take care of our local folks. It's not that much difference, and I'm sure they'll be very obliged to do whatever we need to do to help us out or whatever. But I think we need to stick with the local people for that amount.
Yeah, and the usage of those parks, especially where
Right.
it's been, it's.
They're aware of the surroundings, and they know you guys. They do a good job.
Yeah.
Well, I'll if there's no more discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
I make a motion to use Green's, lawn service for the, 2021,
21, 22.
22.
We do it on,
Yeah, for the
we
red
voted
part.
last year to do a 2-year
Mhm.
contract, it's the same money.
And the bathrooms.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion. All in favor? Okay. All right. Got that squared away?
Yeah, then we're looking to, but I've got 2 ZD 331 72-inch cut diesel mowers that we mow inside Tom Boyd Park with. Those mowers are, one's 10 years, one's 11 years old. They've got well over 2,000 hours. And what I would like to do is replace one this year and maybe one next year. I've got bids for new mowers, the exact same size mower. Nelson Tractor bid $15,042 for the 72-inch cut. Mason Tractor bid $13,500, and Masons will also take a trade-in on our older mower of $2,000. So be $11,500 to purchase this 72-inch cut diesel mower, zero-turn mower. And
That coming out of our spots.
yes, we can take it out of there. And this thing's starting to give us a lot of trouble, just sinking money,
Right.
good money behind bad, honestly.
Eddie, is that just for the things that is not covered in the mowing?
That's correct. That's Tom Boyd Park, all the fields, soccer fields and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
We've had those other mowers quite some time.
That's correct. One is a 2010, this one is, and the other one's a 2011. They were purchased a year apart. Yeah.
It wasn't me, it was good. You can always feel it coming on. The only thing I might suggest is, instead of spreading them out a year, getting them both at the same time, that way in the future, like if you replace both of them at once.
So, yeah.
I mean, just because it'll be every time, if you get 2 at a time, I mean, for one, they might sweeten the deal if you're getting 2 at once, and second, it's easy to keep up with for both bought in the same year. Unless, there's a, I guess it'd be less headache for you, and it'd be easier to keep up with for both the same model and everything,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a practice I do, unless you just only want one this year. Or,
We could go back and do that. I'm fine with that too. One's giving me trouble and the other one's running okay, so we thought we could just split them out, so.
or you might keep the other one for a spare in case something happened to one of them too. I mean, I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, because we could buy another, if we wanted to replace both, keep one, trade one, the other one would be $13,500, so we'd be at $24,500 for 2 mowers. But I see what you're saying, it does keep it the same.
Would you be good in the splosh to do both?
Oh, yeah, I think the slice is probably close to $400,000.
Didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to do.
So we got a lot
Kinda
to
staggered,
do,
but
yeah, there's a lot, yeah. But it does make sense of when to replace both.
Well, they might, like you say, they might sweeten the deal.
Yeah, he might do this better, maybe.
well, do you want us to approve both or one? I mean, is that?
Both will be good,
If we
yeah.
can, okay.
And just do it not to exceed that, and if he undercuts it with the person too.
Yeah.
even better. Is that fair?
I think that would be good. I'd go back to him and say, we're getting to you,
Sure.
can you help us out?
Yeah.
Hopefully he will. So, and then would you still keep the other one?
We'll
as a
try
backup?
one, keep one, we don't need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah, we can do that. So just cut
And the only reason I say that, just so everyone knows, is just, if that grass ever goes uncut, you hear about it really
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just like Horseshoe Bend Park.
Yeah.
If somebody's not doing a good job, I mean, you'll hear about it that evening, so. And I know we've spaced it out in passing, it just seems like it's a recurring thing. You know, you doing one this year and then one next year, and it's kind of hard to keep up with. If you just went ahead and replaced both of them at once, and
Same model, same.
you still have a backup, I think, yeah, that's fair. What has to do with that?
I can holler if everybody's all right with that. All right, so,
So the 11.5 plus 13.5, and hopefully we get a better deal.
not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
Well, I'll make a motion that we buy two of them, not to exceed 25,000, and hopefully get a better deal, by getting two. And hopefully, you'll help us out on that. So I'll make that motion. I'll ask for a second.
I second that motion.
All in favor? One more thing. Wait there, before you go. I actually put this on 3B and went down and said, hey, he's coming up here anyway, so if it would be, all right for you to, explain this to us.
So the summer food program is every year we host a 6-week summer day camp. And that summer food, that is a state grant to feed the kids breakfast and lunch every day. So we take around 125 kids and we feed them breakfast, we feed them lunch. We only charge $35 for a 2-week session. And without that summer food grant, it obviously would be impossible. And that thing's typically usually around worth about $35,000. So free money for us. All we have to do is keep up with that inventory and do training every year. So that's what that summer food grant is for us to feed those kids. It's probably, in my opinion, this is probably the most important program that we do to help kids. To gives them daycare in the summer and we feed them 2 meals.
How long has this program been going on?
Gosh, I don't know what you say, Earl, probably 15 years, 20 years, yeah, it's been going a long time.
Can we see it's growing? I mean, are we getting more kids each summer?
Yeah,
Can't get too much more, can you?
yeah. It's,
What is the max?
we take as many as we can hire counselors to
Yeah.
work it, is basically what we do. We try to keep 12 kids per 2 counselors, so, and that typically around 125 to 150 kids, yeah.
Well, it's fantastic. Keeps them busy
Yes.
for that length of time.
And we get to feed them 2 good meals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And there's a lot of kids, I would venture to say that if this program didn't exist, don't tell them what they'd have to be doing during the day, so.
That's right.
It's,
And it's a partnership. The school system actually sends their lunch crew down and they actually prep that food for us. So it's basically an extension of school lunch.
Yeah.
And breakfast is what it is, actually.
Awesome. Well, this is also something we should vote on, so I'll ask for a vote that we accept the agreement for food service at the rec department sub-kit.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion. All in favor? Okay. All right, well, thank you, Eddie.
Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
it, sir.
Appreciate it, Eddie.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, we had a proposal for train service agreement for our heat and air. I know the jail had actually signed an agreement with them, last couple of years, I believe it was. And they have actually made us a proposal to do the jail and the courthouse. And went back through 2019 and 20 and crunched some numbers a little bit to see where we were at. There is a pretty good savings, actually, in this. I know last year we paid, for service alone, we paid over $38,000. I know the year before that, we paid $36,000. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was last year when we signed the contract through the jail, if I'm not mistaken. So, this is a proposal that would be, $28,305, to do both. And the numbers that I had prior, sorry, that was for the jail and the detention center or the detention center and the courthouse for $38,000 is what we paid for both last year. And that didn't include, the parts either. So, the way I looked at this was preventive maintenance. If we could save, X amount of dollars for preventive maintenance, then, and I actually talked with the sheriff, he was more than pleased with the service he got. I think they have a gentleman who lives local, to come up here and take care of the service. And I think anytime we call him, he's been here within about a day and a half, 2 days tops. So, that was the proposal that we had, to look at. Commissioner Johnson, your thoughts?
From my experience, there's not very many people that, just locally that service this type of system. And it's been a problem for years, every time something has kind of been patched together, and it's been a lot easier since these people have been involved, which is what they deal with. Not only what they deal with, they can, get the parts and provide the technicians for the service. So, I think they've been valuable servicing it, because a lot of these things that were going wrong, if the correct preventative maintenance was going on, some of the other big issues wouldn't have came about. So, I think it would be well worth the money to continue using this company. It being such a big commercial unit, there's only so many of these in the county anyway, so. I think the savings alone that you've asked for, speaks for itself. That they've granted, so I'm glad that you reached out to them and,
We're trying.
yeah. Either way, I guess, let me put it in just real English, it's gonna cost us money either way. It's a big unit, big system, and there's always gonna be something going wrong, but it's nice to know that when you do have a problem, they're here in a timely fashion.
Mr. Bachelor?
I agree, Mr. Johnson. It's a good deal. I think it'll save us money in the long run.
Any other discussion on it? So I will make a motion that we accept the train service agreement for the heating and cooling unit for the courthouse and the jail.
For the amount,
It's $28,305, and we pay for that quarterly.
all right, I second the motion.
All in favor? All right, public commentary. If anybody would like to speak, please raise your hand, come up to the podium and, okay, yeah, all right.
Am I?
Absolutely. Tell us your name.
First, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Heath Lee, and I'm the director of the Mountain Regional Library System. So I have a statement prepared that I will just read, and then I will share a few other things as well. So first, thank you for selecting Kathleen Tickner and Nick Wimberly to represent Fannin County Commissioners on the local library board. Both are great choices and advocates for the Fannin County Library. So first, I would like to make it known that I'm not here tonight representing either the Mountain Regional Library System Board of Trustees or the Fannin County Library Board of Trustees. I'm here on my own behalf, and the purpose of this statement is to clear up some misunderstandings, misconceptions, and misinformation about the library grant and any potential library construction project. State grant funding was not bestowed to Fannin County or the Fannin County Public Library in January 2021, as recently reported by a local media outlet. The grant funding is a product of an application being filed to the Georgia Public Library Service a funding partner's commitment to also join in the construction project. Many library advocates at all levels of public and governmental interests championing the cause, and finally, the state of Georgia legislature approving the sale of bonds to support the projects the legislature approves. So being a recipient of the state of Georgia grant funding for the purpose of a capital outlay project is no small feat. It requires years of diligence, advocating, sometimes a little luck to be awarded the funds. To access the funding, any library construction project requires a funding partner to ensure the project will be completed in its entirety, and because of the grant amount, it's partially determined by the amount the funding partner is committed. No portion of the state grant funding can be used for the purpose of, for the purchase of land or location, be used as a reimbursement for a completed project, or reimburse an existing account of funding such as a SPOS account. The state grant funds can only be used to construct a new facility, rehabilitate an existing library or alternate location, and furnish the library with necessary equipment. In regards to the Georgia Public Library Services library standards and project square footage, there is only one requirement dictated by the contractual agreement to utilize state grant funding for a capital outlay project. The requirement is the minimum square footage must be at least 5,000 square feet. For reference purposes, the current Fannin County Library facility is 6,800 square feet. So what is being referred to as a standard is actually a recommendation provided by the Georgia Public Library Service. In no way would a proposed library project for Fannin County, which falls under the recommendation of a library approaching 20,000 square feet, be held up due to the size of square footage for the project. The proposed partial renovation of approximately 13,000 square feet of the White Path building for the purpose of being used as a public library space has already been approved by the Georgia Public Library Service, the Georgia State Financing and Investment Commission, and the state legislature of Georgia. The total cost of a forthcoming library construction project has yet to be determined. To suggest the construction project would cost $5 to $8 million is false and irresponsible. Neither the local Board of Trustees nor the Regional Board of Trustees have hired an architect, construction, or design firm to advise on such matters as design, build, furnish, and timeline of the project. Until the local library boards of trustees understands exactly where the project will take place, when the project will take place, and who will be chosen to lead the construction and design phases, the final associated construction and furnishing costs will not be known. These grant funds were not bestowed to Fannin County, nor should it be taken for granted that if these funds are not utilized, then Fannin County will simply get another round of funding. These state grants are competitive. There are over 400 public libraries in Georgia, and there are always new library projects being added to the capital outlay menu. On average, only 3 to 5 capital outlay projects are approved by the state legislature annually. I would like to express my gratitude to the commissioners of Fannin County. The commissioners and the library system continue to work towards providing a seismic library service improvement to the citizens of Fannin County. It is much needed, and the benefits of a new modern facility will be reaped for decades. There is much that can be added to Fannin County by embedding a modern library with amenities that neighboring counties already experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
I will also say that this was the folder left for me that pertains to just the Fannin County project. Started being collected in 1992. So there's an opportunity to do away with this folder. And I hope it just doesn't get diverted. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you clarifying a lot of things.
Anyone else? Mr. Williams?
Kirk Williams, Mineral Bluff. I'd like to relinquish my time to Julie Wooten, my 5 minutes, please.
Good evening, Julie Wooden, member of Fannin County. I am here tonight, came in front of this board 2 years ago after an attack out of my home. In that 2 years, nothing has changed. January 12th, I suffered yet another attack out at my place from another roaming dog with thousands upon thousands of dollars of damage and loss. I called the animal control facility, and I called 2 times during open hours. Mr. Drollinger never bothered to call me back. Mr. Hensley, you called me that evening, and I'm extremely appreciative of that, and you told me you'd make sure that you had him call me. My question is, why does he have to be instructed to call somebody? That should have been on his own. He's been at this job for 15 years. The next day, I heard nothing from John Drollinger. I did speak with you, Mr. Patterson, and it was a great conversation, and I thank you for it. But you asked me to be patient. I'm now 2 months post-attack. I do not have the name of the owner of the dog that attacked my place. My issue with that, I called about that dog 9 different times. Mr. Drollinger at one point picked the dog up. He knew the owner because he immediately took the dog back home. Now all of a sudden he doesn't know the owner's name. Those dogs are also picked up, according to a resident over on Wolf Creek, taken to the Fannin County Animal Shelter, at which point they stayed for several days. But yet Mr. Drollinger saying that he doesn't have the paperwork on that. My question is, I came here and spoke to this board, and I spoke out against Mr. Drollinger. Am I not getting the information out of spite because I have been so vocal about my displeasure with it? What Mr. Drollinger told me at my home that day when I asked him why he hadn't cited anybody for it when he had picked the dogs up before. He said that it's just like drunk drivers, that there's people that have been arrested 3 times and they haven't had they've had consequence and nothing happened. So he didn't feel the need. Would we expect that from one of our police officers under his own example? Is it okay for a police officer to pull over a drunk driver and say, well, I've arrested you before, so I'm not going to do anything, have a good evening? It's not allowed, and it would never be accepted. So why are we accepting it from Mr. Drollinger? I'm here tonight to ask for his public termination because there are so many different things that have happened. And when you ask me to be patient, my patience left when I laid on the ground holding my boy as he's gushing out blood, taking his last breath. He was one of only 17 in the entire world. He is irreplaceable. Mr. Drollinger has ignored my texts. He's ignored my phone calls. When 2 years ago I went to the shelter to adopt a dog, there was a dog I fell in love with. And that dog was 2 years old, and he had been at that shelter for 2 months. Mr. Drollinger refused to adopt that dog to me because the dog had not been neutered. I said, I will pay the vets directly to have the dog neutered and pick it up. You just take it there. No, you have to go through a rescue. He told me that 2 years ago. Debbie Holcomb, and I hope she speaks tonight, she tried to adopt the dog in November of this past year, and she was told, no, the dog's not spayed, you have to go through a rescue. But now we come to this last week, and this is in no way, shape, or form anything against Mr. Hawkins. We all like Mr. Hawkins. It has nothing to do with him. But John Drollinger wouldn't let Debbie and I, who have been very outspoken against him, because we don't like, out of 15 years, that he's done nothing, but yet he's going to allow Mr. Hawkins to adopt 8 to 10-week-old puppies. Aren't spayed, aren't neutered, but Debbie Holcomb and I weren't allowed to adopt. So why does he get to change his rules when it suits him? That's the issue with it. Not the person to adopt the puppies, but the fact that Mr. Drollinger, he's making these rules up as he goes. Now, I did a Freedom of Information request because I was hoping I could get my own information on who the owner of the dog was that attacked my animals. In that paperwork, I was missing an awful lot, but what I found in that paperwork was even more alarming, and I brought it with me tonight in case you want to look at it. Are you aware there were 11 dog attacks last year? 11. 3 of those, that required medical care. Mr. Drollinger gave 0 citations on those dog attacks. On one attack, the woman was riding her bike, got attacked by 2 dogs, ended up at the hospital. No citations were issued. In those 11 dog attacks, do you know that 4 of those weren't even kept for the 10-day hold, which is required under a dog attack? Nowhere in this paperwork does it even say if rabies were given to any of those dogs. The other thing and then one of the other things I asked was how many dogs have been euthanized. Mr. Drollinger told me 0. He hadn't euthanized any dogs last year. But yet when I got the open records request in the paperwork, it shows 1 dog was euthanized. And I'm going, this doesn't make any sense. So we did another open records request on January 21st for the euthanasia sheet. We didn't get those results until the 29th. Again, I blame Mr. Drollinger for not getting them within that 3-day timeline that's supposed to be done. That raised more questions because according to his euthanasia sheet, he euthanized 2 dogs. So which is it? Is it that he didn't euthanize any, which is what he told me under the open records? Or is it that he did the one based on just the paperwork? Or is it that he did two? His numbers aren't adding up, and it's complete incompetence for somebody that has been in this position for 15 years. In the newspaper this week, he actually made a quote. "It's always nice to continue and improve and grow and be safer." He's done none of that in the 15 years. And every single suggestion that was done in that paper, none of those were his. And I can tell you with certainty because we discussed these 3 weeks prior. Yeah, Mr. Drulinger put it up in that newspaper that these were all of his ideas. The ideas are fabulous. And I thank Mr. Hensley for actually helping to come up with some of them. I know you're not winning recognition on it, but we appreciate the fact that you're listening to us. But Mr. Drulinger taking credit for it, it wasn't his credit to take. There's a plot hound that I met at Animal Control about a month ago. And we knew that dog wasn't going to be a fit for our family. But what I did is I reached out to a local rescue and I said, you need to pull this dog. This dog was going to be an amazing dog to a family member. That rescue decided we're going to go ahead and pull the dog, so they put the hold on the dog. That dog then, a few weeks later, went to Dr. Mitchell's in order to get neutered so that it could go on its transport. When that dog walked in, everybody gasped. That dog only weighed 32 pounds. That dog weighed more than that when I was at the shelter and played with it a few weeks prior. And Mr. Drulinger was asked, what do the stools look like? I don't know. What is the dog eating? I don't know. At the time of this, there were 2 dogs in that shelter, only 2. But yet he can't tell you what the feces looks like. He can't tell you what the dog is eating, which tells me he's not back there doing his job. We all know the volunteers are the ones that are doing the job on these dogs, and we value them immensely. The question is, why are we paying such high salary if he's not out there doing the job himself? Let alone, this dog was sitting in a large puddle of blood. And Mr. Drulinger didn't notice that. He didn't notice it in the truck because he transported the dog there. And if you need verification, call Dr. Mitchell's office. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you if you haven't spoken to him already. So Mr. Drulinger doesn't know anything about this dog, but yet this dog spent several days at Dr. Mitchell's office because it was in such bad condition. It's time that we do better. Mr. Drulinger's had 15 years of that job. Nothing's gotten better. He hasn't done the improvements. Even the improvements that were mentioned in the paper is all common sense. You did a PayPal because you're looking for donations. $200,000 that have been donated to Gilmer County have come from Fannin County residents. The reason for that is when Daniel overtook the Gilmer County shelter, he was in a completely different mindset. He was about, he was the high kill, all of that. But he listened when people came to him and said there's a better way. Daniel then started talking to people, talking within the community. He gained the trust and he gained the respect, and he turned that shelter around. Does he still make mistakes? Of course he does. Everybody's going to. But people trust him, and people respect him, and people donate. They just had $1 million private donation. You're not going to get the money coming into Fannin County, evidenced by the fact that we're donating it to Gilmer County with the $200,000, because we do, the citizens, we have no trust nor respect for John Drulinger. All you have to do is go look at Facebook on any of the Blue Ridge pages when animal control is discussed. You will see it all the way down from all the citizens. How much of a joke animal control is. Animal control doesn't bother to return our calls. Animal control isn't coming out, and it shouldn't be that way. The department head should not have to be babysat with all the new improvements that have had to go in just to make sure a job is being done. So tonight I am asking you to listen to the citizens, understand, you guys have had these issues long before I came here. I've been here for 5 years, and I've suffered almost $12,000 of loss out of my place from him not doing his job. And the only thing I ever originally asked for, enforce the current ordinance on file. It's not been done. So I'm asking you guys to understand that this is month after month and year after year, your citizens are coming and saying, we want this changed. So tonight I'm asking for his termination so we can make the change, so that we can make the shelter better, not only for your citizens, but for the animals that are forced to stay there until they find a home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wood.
Do you want any of the paperwork, or? One other thing to bring up, sorry, I just thought of it when I pulled it. Another thing within his paperwork, citizens I've seen go to court when they've found a dog and they have not held that dog for 3 days to find the owner. I've gotten this for Drullinger, this is just a couple of them, I've got probably close to 100, where he's letting dogs go that have been brought in, not the 3-day hold, 1 day and 2 days. So why does he get to violate the law when the citizens are going to court, but he's allowed to do it? And then there's another paper here, this is one of them I got, that's how he filled out his paperwork.
Anyone else? Mr. Stafford?
I got some pictures I want to give each one of y'all, just a copy of, so y'all kind of follow along.
Thank you.
I'm going to talk to y'all about this Loving Road recycle yard that's down there on Loving Road. Start off with, it's in the topography of the view is something like that. It's in a valley. It sits right down at the bottom of two big hills on a long straight road. And I'll share that with y'all too. It's full of junk cars, and it doesn't have a stitch of concrete. It's all on just mud. And because of the mud and the lack of concrete and the amount of runoff of sheer sheet flow from the water that comes down those mountains, it blows that mud and all the oil that comes out of these cars and basically toxic waste pretty much into the road. And when you come by there at a rainy point, which we've had tons of, we all know that, it's dangerous, slick. And then you put the tractor trailer in picture one loading up a car inches from the road. Now how does anybody do that? How does OSHA or anybody approve somebody putting a tractor trailer truck right in the road and dropping cars over in it with a track hoe? And guess how they crush those cars? They don't put them in a crushing bin that you're supposed to have, that a crusher properly goes in, that all the toxic is in a concreted area where it goes into an oil tank and then pumped out. No, they crush it with a track hoe in the parking lot. Now, if you thought about it for a minute, you take all the stuff that comes out of cars. I mean, I just thought about transmission fluid, oil, gas, batteries, rear differential, general grease, and all that gets crushed in a parking lot without no concrete, without no containment facility. Now this is straight off the EPA book, right here. And you know, I used to be a commissioner in Loganville, Georgia. So I sat in y'all's seat, and I know what we had to do there. And we had to make the people put in the right thing to confine the toxins. Because of the amount of well water we have up here, it's tremendously dangerous that these toxins are going straight into the groundwater. So I'm asking you, and I'm almost begging you to just look into this. I mean, if it was properly spaced, the tractor trailer, you got plenty of land there, a tractor trailer truck can get out of that road. And they do it at night too, y'all. Like now, they're over there loading those cars. If you got in your car and went over there, they'd be dropping tractor trailers right on the road with no lights, no flagman, no nothing, dropping cars over in a giant tractor trailer truck with a big old track hoe right on the road. as those pictures show. Now, I guarantee you they're there right now, because that's when they get started, right at dusk dark. And they work till about 10 o'clock at night. And I have experienced it probably 100 times that I've seen cars tumble off the back of the truck. Well, what happens if it tumbles off onto a car coming down that long straight road? Or little teenagers, or anybody, senior citizens, just think about it. It's a dangerous situation. I asked you to look into it, I beg you to look into it, and I would appreciate a response of some sort. You can keep those pictures, you can shred them or whatever. You're welcome to this if you want to show it to somebody how it should be done, the containment for the toxins and a crusher. You know, most people have a machine that crushes them, you know. They just crush them with a track out in the parking lot. So I'm just real concerned about it.
I'm up there with it. You ain't got to think more.
Yeah. My wife says behind school project. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Let's hope.
Debbie Holt from Sugar Creek. First, I wanted to thank you, Mr. Hensley, for being the kind of chairman that when you have a problem, I can call your office or text you and get an answer. Might not be the answer I want to hear, and we have had our first disagreement since you took office, so I'm gonna say, you know, I agree with you that we're not always going to agree. And we disagreed friendly, and I appreciate it. I want to tell the two post commissioners what happened on Friday. On Friday, I was told that 2 puppies are at animal control, and that an individual, not a rescue, had put a hold on those puppies, and that they were going to be let out on a contract. I want to tell you what happened back in November. As you both know, I volunteered at animal control usually 5 or 6 days a week for the entire spring, summer, and fall. And I had volunteered the year before. So I'm there all the time, or I was, until winter hit. There was a dog there, Pyrenees mix, that I thought my family, my daughter and 2 grandchildren would love to have. So put my name on as a hold. I had my daughter and my 2 grandchildren come out to animal control on a Saturday and to meet the dog, and they definitely fell in love with the dog. They wanted the dog fell in love with them. We had also had found the owner, or the owner had found one of the other volunteers, and she actually agreed to come all the way down to animal control and sign off that yes, she owned the dog. Yes, she was releasing the dog because she wanted it to go to a good family and she couldn't take care of it anymore. The problem was that this was right before Thanksgiving, and it's also in the midst of all of COVID. So I went to Mr. Grellinger. Well, no, first, let me tell the whole truth. JR asked Drellinger for me about doing a contract because he was going to work that Saturday, and he was the only one on duty on Saturday. He told me on Friday, JR did, that Drellinger told him under no circumstances are you to give a contract to Debbie Holcomb. Okay. So my daughter and kids go to they love the dog. So Monday morning, I corner Mr. Drellinger and I said, why can't I do a contract? I have an appointment already at the animal shelter, at the veterinarian, but because of Thanksgiving holiday, it won't be until about December 2nd or December 3rd, I can't remember which. And I don't want this dog in here over the Thanksgiving holiday, which is 4 days, when volunteers weren't even going to be allowed to be in to walk the dogs or anything. I want to take him home. I was told by Drellinger to my face, we don't do contracts anymore. You're going to have to call a rescue.
and have a rescue come in and them rescue it, and you do your contract through them. That's what I did. Luckily, I worked with enough with the animals that I was able to call Homeward Bound. Homeward Bound came out to Animal Control, made a special trip to do nothing but the paperwork to take to take ownership or whatever you call it for that dog, turn right around, still seated, and then have me to sign the contract so that I could take Olaf home later that day. I do not understand any department, be it Animal Control, be it any other county department, to where a department head can do what he wants to do at his own whim. This one I'm gonna let go, this one I'm not. This one can do a contract, but this one's gotta go through a rescue. This one over here, I'm just gonna take your word for it, I'll let you take the dog now. We need written policies and procedures for that department. I've asked for them in the past, and I'm asking for them again. As far as some of the things that Ms. Wooten said up here, I was there when the dog was sitting in the blood. I have been there before whenever a dog, we went in and said, John, you need to come take a look at this dog. This dog is not acting right, or this dog just threw up, or there is blood in this dog's kennel. There was one small dog that I can remember that he said, okay, I'm going to take it to the vet. He took the dog, put it in the back of the truck, and went back in the office. I was there another 2 hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close public commentary. Number 8, executive session. I need executive session, if possible.
Okay, we want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to go into executive session. I'll get a second.
Second that motion. All in favor?
All right, I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second that motion.
All in favor? All right, so we went into executive session for personnel, and we have we've done some interviews for human resource, several. The young lady that that I felt, I say we, I always say we, but the young lady that I felt that was most qualified, her name is Jessica Hall. We actually give the resume to the other ones, to the other commissioners as well for their review. So that would be my recommendation, would be to hire Jessica Hall as human resources. I will make a motion that we hire Jessica Hall as our full-time human resources person. Can I get a second?
Second motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? That'll bring us to closing. I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second motion.
All in favor? We're adjourned.